Welcome everybody to the weekly WP Roundup with BJ Keeton. That is me, and every Friday afternoon we get together to talk about the best news and tutorials and resources that were published this week about WordPress. We weren't here last week, so there will be some catch up from the week before. Oh, sorry. And so we'll be going over some stuff like that. We'll also be talking and answering questions from anyone in the chat, so please feel free to throw anything in the comments that you want. It's a very interactive show where we can get to know each other, and so let's just enjoy the afternoon, answer some questions, and really learn about WordPress. So thank you guys so much for showing up and coming to the stream. I'm popping out the chat because I follow it as we go through. Want to make sure that I get both Facebook and YouTube as much as I can, so just bear with me. And so the last couple of weeks have been kind of big for Automatic, at least. I was not here last week during a lot of the news. I was gone to the Podcast Movement conference to learn about live streaming and community building and stuff like that. So it's really awesome to be back and be able to talk about and kind of implement some of the stuff that was there. That said, digging into the news to start out with, I want to say that finally I can announce, you guys may have already noticed this if you've updated Divi, but we did release the responsive content update so that there is responsive design and responsive editing within the Divi builder now, so that you have really granular control over what you do with your content on every different kind of device and screen size and viewport. So it's really really an update that a lot of people have been wanting for quite a while. I think it's one of the cooler updates that we've done in a long time, just in terms of what it can do and what it can open up for you to do as well. You can have content that is specifically tailored to sorry, I got distracted by the comments there. That the content can be specifically tailored to mobile visitors rather than just have a splash of the exact same kind. And so it's a very, very, very awesome update. It updates to where you can, we now have much broader SRC set support. So I know that there were many people in the comments a few weeks ago talking about that, wanting the SRC set support. So we've got that in there. It has been released. So go update Divi and you will be able to find out how just wonderful this is to be able to use it. I've only poked around with it this week, so it was so I haven't gotten a chance to really dig in on a real site and play with it yet because I was out of town. But this has like the potential to be just a magnificent game changer for everybody here. So I hope you take advantage of that. I'm seeing a lot of people coming into the chat. That's awesome. Hi, Madalena and Marcos and Uncle Social. Glad to see you guys here. Had to, my mouth gets so dry talking, so forgive me on that one. Now, another, like a big WordPress news, outside of the awesome update that we have, there is also a really, really spectacular announcement that Automatic bought Tumblr. And while in and of itself, that's not so crazy, Tumblr has been bought a couple of times. It's been in the news a few times. They've taken NSFW content off of there, any kind of explicit content. They have been bought out by Yahoo, which people were worried about initially. And now, after the explicit content removal, they had a lot of users who would no longer use the site, and that kind of devalued the brand, and that's stinky. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That's bad. And luckily, Matt Mullenweg and Automatic, they were able to buy Tumblr, and the plans right now are that Tumblr is going to maintain what it is. That they're going to be worked into the fold and but maintain a separate entity. And They got it for $3 million. That the entire platform was for $3 million. It is an absolutely nuts price for a platform of that size, of that magnitude, and of that, I guess, notoriety rather than fame, but of that just level of everything. But there is an article, and the reason I bring this up specifically, I mean, other than, it's big news, and but I'm sure you guys have already heard about it. There is an article that Matt posted on ma.tt, Matt Mullenweg's blog, where he talks about the day after the acquisition, where he posted this up, and it was on the 13th, and I really, which was the day I left for my conference, so I didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but he just kind of walks you through it. He walks through a lot of the logic and the reasoning, and he talks about just, I mean, I don't even know how to best put it, talking about how this as an acquisition is something to help both brands grow, because it wasn't doing anything for Tumblr under Verizon the way that it was. They had acquired it through a merger. It had been sold to Yahoo, and so it's just crazy how that kind of brand can change, and that there's people who still want to maintain that brand. Uncle Social in the comments says apparently $3 million was a lot less than it would have cost to get a recruitment agency to headhunt all of Tumblr's staff. And I heard that as well. I didn't know, I don't remember any specific figures, but yeah, I had remembered hearing that the acquisition of the brand alone was that the employees and staff and knowledge and talent in the building that it was a steal for it, and I really hope them nothing but the best. I hope WordPress and Automatic nothing but the best, obviously, but also Tumblr. I mean, those are a lot of people being employed by that company, and so I'm hoping that this is a smooth transition on them, and that this is good for them after the tumult of the last couple of years. That things have just been kind of weird for them, I'm sure, over the last few years. So I'm hoping that this is a way to get stability for them. But it's a big change. There are probably a lot of people out there who are listening to this and watching this right now who use Tumblr, who use it on a daily basis. I know that like it took a hit on actual art curation. We've had talk about this just on the content team, on how when they changed the explicit content, the flagging algorithms changed the way that like fine art was viewed and curated and everything. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that brand can survive and thrive, hopefully under Automatic, since they seem to have a better handle on how to run online platforms and brands than maybe Yahoo does. Uncle Social says it right. Yahoo is like a reverse Midas. Everything they touch turns to poo. So that's kind of true lately, and it makes me sad because I used to love Yahoo. So I'm really hoping, that the 90s can have a heyday again for them. That the 2020s can be a heyday for them like the 90s were, I guess is the better way to put it. The next thing is I wanted to point out that WP Tavern has an article on WordPress 5.3 development. It's starting. They're working on the UI. They're working on the editor improvements. There are a lot of the improvements that you may already have if you use the Gutenberg plugin rather than wait on WordPress core updates. But the really cool things in this one, that this was put up yesterday, is that the 2020 theme is coming. And I may have mentioned this before to you guys, but I really get excited when new default themes come out because I like seeing what they're doing. And 2019 is a very bare bones theme. It's built for the block editor, and I'm really hoping that 2020 gives it a little bit more robustness. I'm really looking forward to 2020 to see if we can get something like 2016 again, because I actually really liked the 2016 theme and thought you could do a lot of stuff with it. But also, they've got a release date. The official release date is November 12th, 2019. So that is right after WordCamp US. WordCamp US is the first weekend of November in St. Louis, Missouri. So if you guys have not gone and gotten your tickets for that, you probably should. They're, I think, they're either $40 or $50 for the 3-day conference, and it is just a magnificent time. I know that there will be members of our team there. There will be members of pretty much every team there, and so you'll be able to hear what's coming for WordPress at that point. And then, because this being released about a week later, 2 weeks later, roughly, a week and a half. And then also they talk about how 5.3 is going to be pushing for support for PHP 7.4. I know that you guys out there who are really on the cutting edge are going to be very happy to see a yet another improvement in WordPress's PHP support. So I'm glad to see that. I know a lot of you guys will too, like I said. And then they're just kind of fixing a lot of small things. I see Uncle Social says, which will come first, WordPress 5.3 or Divi 4, Divi 4.0. I don't know. I have no dates, so I can't say because I literally don't know. But it's coming. Y'all know that. Also, this is super cool. Another WP Tavern article that I ran across, and this is a very small thing, but it's a very big news. It's very big news for some people. Gutenberg blocks and links are finally going to be able to have a no-follow option built into it. That you have to right now go into the HTML and actually edit the rel equals no-follow on it, on any links that you want to no-follow. And there's finally going to be a click for it, and it's going to be great, because sometimes you just don't want to pass along your link juice to others. Sometimes you don't want anything to appear like it's a sponsored link. Sometimes it is a sponsored link, and you need to keep it from passing along link juice. So it's going to be a lot easier to do in Gutenberg, and that is a good thing. That one of the biggest issues that I have with writing in Gutenberg personally is the lack of options like this, because I do like the writing environment, especially for small posts. I don't do a lot of media heavy posts, but I'm liking what it does so far. But then there are really bad limitations that are really frustrating to get around, and they're slowly working through those being done, getting away from them being finished, like done as in done. So I see people coming in from Buenos Aires, from Spain, from Pakistan. That's awesome. Nice to see everybody in. Excuse me. So, for those of you who are just now coming in, I briefly went over the news this week. It was really good stuff, I thought. Divi released the responsive content update that everybody's been wanting, so you should update and check that out. The Tumblr was bought by Automatic, so it's technically a WordPress type product now. I like to think of it being wordpress.tumblr.com. And, WordPress 5.3 is coming out in November. They're starting on that. PHP 7.4 is being updated, and there is a no-follow option finally being added to Gutenberg, so that's going to be really, really great for users there. So like I said, that was what was in the news this week, and I just about closed my tab that has all my links in it, which would have been terrible, because I was like, oh, I'm done with the news, and it's like, no, you still have 2 sections to go through, BJ. But under the tutorial section now, moving into the second tier of this, I don't even know why I say tier, it's the second section, second segment. Jason did an article on the Elegant Themes blog on how to create a simple text marquee with Divi. And the reason that I like this one so much is we were in our content meeting talking about this particular update and design that he was doing. And that text marquees are kind of like 90s made fun of GeoCities, Angelfire websites that you would just have text scrolling across the top of the screen over and over again. And Jason had a really good idea of how to actually make this useful, how to make it something that your clients would want to use, as well as, because just scrolling text doesn't really help that much. so you can contain it within a particular, a container. You can limit it to that container. You can stop it on hover, where you can then put a link in it rather than people having to chase the link across the screen trying to click it. So it's really, really cool, and it's really, really useful. And he shows you how to do it with, say, the background of a website where you have a transparent heading text that goes across, like in the demo. They're great. Like, y'all know that I think Jason and Danietta are just wizards when it comes to Divi, but I think this one is just really, really awesome because it takes something that we all make fun of and makes it truly useful. So I make fun of marquees, and I make fun of a lot of like old school GeoCities type web design, and I think being able to make it useful for people like this is just great. Although Uncle Social does bring up a really good point on YouTube that Jason's marquee isn't authentic, that it's not fluorescent green text on a fluorescent yellow background, which is true. That would be the absolute most authentic. There would also be a second place of bright red text on top of an animated starfield background. There is also that one that would also be acceptable if you wanted to go on pure authenticity, because I think those were the two color combinations that I have seen the most. And I'm seeing people on YouTube saying that they didn't get a notification that I went live. Which is weird because I did change nothing about my workflow today. I'm hoping that YouTube has betrayed you, as Uncle Social says here. Now, on Facebook, before I move along, there's been a really good question. And I think that some of you guys who are either on Facebook or kind of move over to Facebook whenever there's a discussion going on would like this one, and I'm sure you have opinions to chime in. I'm going to mispronounce your name. I'm very, very sorry about this. Shoaib, Nadim says, sir, tell me about Divi theme. Is it suitable for a creative agency? I want to buy this theme. And yes, that is one of the main, and there are, I will say yes right now. There are people who are in the comments on both YouTube and Facebook who can probably speak, directly as part of an agency or design firm using Divi. But from the company's perspective, from mine, well, I say from mine as a representative of that, we love when creative agencies use Divi. You guys are the ones that we're really creating Divi for. Every update that we have, like this responsive content one that we just put in, is designed specifically making your life easier so that an agency or a firm can really get the most out of it that you can in terms of workflow efficiency, so that you can move on to different clients and really make sure that you're not spending time doing things that would lose you money. So we have things like the workflow we're consistently refining to make sure that you guys have the best time. But also there are things like our API keys. If you're a lifetime member, you'll see in your member dashboard when you get there that you will be able to create any number of API keys, and you'll be able to label them. So you'll be able to give and provide an API key for each of the client sites out there that you use to maintain updates, anything like that. You can also go into your member backend and show and revoke those. My brain is not working. That you can revoke those API keys if you need to for any reason. So yeah, the Divi theme in particular is wonderful for creative agencies. We do the layout packs every week. If you are in the Divi builder, if you've tried it, or you go to elegantthemes.com/layouts, you'll be able to see the number of layout packs that we've released over the last couple of years. These are available from within the Divi builder as well. So if you need a quick site that is professionally designed using free stock photos that we've provided that are commercial use and royalty free, that are original to us, that our staff photographer Joy has taken, you can use those from our layout packs and access those from within the builder. A lot of people edit those and make sure and just readjust the layouts for whatever they do. I do the same thing. So I think that you will get a lot out of it, especially for design agencies like you. The lifetime membership is a really good deal at $249. You just missed our summer sale. It ended at the end of last week, but I think that you'll get a lot of use out of it. Uncle Social is right. If you search for a Divi Design Showcase on our blog, you'll see a lot of things that the community has submitted. We do those monthly so that you can see some really cool things that people are doing with Divi. But absolutely, we love creative agencies, and we want you to have as much flexibility as you possibly can so that whenever you're working for your clients, you're giving them the best experience they can have, and you're not doing things that lose you money as well. Like I said, we want to make that workflow better for you. I see our team member Raquel has joined us on YouTube. So hello, Raquel. I see you. I called you out. I see that Daryl on YouTube says, what? I didn't think about the photos. Yeah, that's something that we think a lot of people may not actually fully realize, that we may not put that messaging out there as much as we potentially should, is that all the photos that come with any of our layout packs or designs or anything you can download off of our blog is royalty free, and it is commercial use. So you can take those and edit them, do whatever you want to do, and make them a part of any design that you have. It is not something that you absolutely have to replace. It's not something that you have to then go to Shutterstock or Pixabay or anything like that. You're good with those if they fit what you're doing, and feel free to take them. They are. William asked if they're Creative Commons licensed. And to be 100% honest, William, I don't know what the actual license is. I just know that we're like, I know that I was told from above, yeah, you guys can take them. They're free for commercial use. Do whatever you want to with them and go. So in terms of it actually being, the license of Creative Commons, I'm not sure. But I know that they're there for you to use like that. That would be a higher up question than I have. That might actually be a Joy question. Joy, Nick, or Nathan would probably know that. Raquel might know that. Let's poke her in the Facebook chat. But I actually don't know what the actual licensing is. But it's free for commercial use, royalty free. Take them, steal them, and do your thing. And Dave, you're asking if I'm a little out of focus today. As I'm seeing the same thing on the stream, I'm getting some weird stream health issues in the software. It's going up and down between the yellow, orange, and green. I haven't hit red yet, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, there's definitely something going on between me and you guys. Not 100% what it is, because nothing else, no errors, nothing I can track down is, other than it's just showing health, and it's not CPU. So, but yeah, I'm seeing the exact same thing, and I apologize. I think YouTube is just broken today, William. I'm going to blame it on YouTube. So moving forward just a little bit. Wait, I missed one. Video Super, I get excited. Video Superhero says, yay responsive CSS controls, finally. Now just need the image gallery settings to not use the raw images for thumbnails and lightbox controls for links. Agreed. We'll, like I said last time, it's on the list. It's one of those things I have no idea when we will, when that'll be taken care of, but it's on the list of things to get through. Now, moving forward, let's see, velocitized link that's called Proof Positive, how to future-proof your marketing strategy. This is something I think all of us need to consider at some point, no matter what business, not what side of the business we're in. If you're in the content creation side, if you're in event coordination side, if you're in development or design, making sure that you're future-proofing what you do is incredibly important. Like this marketing one, it talks about building omni-channel experiences around your customers, which means that you're approaching them from everywhere they are, basically, that you're able to maintain that customer as a person, not as an email address or not as a social media follower, that you are getting a full picture of these people. And so that's something that you as a designer and a developer should be considering on how to future-proof the customers and get what you need to keep them while still maintaining their privacy and using the best GDPR practices. And what is it, CCPA that is coming out, CCPR, I think, coming out in California, that's going to be just absolutely crazy in terms of how much more strict it is than GDPR. So y'all are going to be have fun with CCPR. I think that's what it's called. I can't remember. Heard about it a lot at Podcast Movement last week, and now I can't remember what it is. They talk about the ability to create scalable and headless systems, which we've talked about headless WordPress on here a lot, and so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time there. But being able to completely scale to any level is going to maintain that kind of future-proofing where you're not going to break whenever you actually get to the point where you need that kind of scalability. And then they're talking about what I love, developing responsive content. So with our responsive content update last week, that's something that you guys can do a lot. That's something that you can do really easily, and you can really focus in on a mobile, that is not how I say that word, mobile specific content, like I'd said before. That way you can give your desktop users what they need to opt in to become a brand champion, as well as your mobile users as well. Speaking of mobile first and things like that, Blake Kinney asks on Facebook, will Divi move to a mobile first CSS framework like Bootstrap? I'm anxiously awaiting the Woo modules update, but I'm thinking about switching one of my e-commerce sites to the Bootstrap framework. Any counter argument? I like Bootstrap. I think, now let me, I've got to get into Asana here to actually check. I think there is a Bootstrap with Divi, article coming out soon. I actually need to, or if it's, it is coming out soon. That one has been, so I would wait on that. It's how to use Bootstrap with WordPress. I believe there's some Divi content in there as well. But I don't think we're going to be moving to a framework like that. From any discussions that I've had, I've not heard anything about moving to it because of partly being reliant on updates and things breaking from say Bootstrap updates to a new version and deprecates things, and we want to try to keep that at a minimum. But I do think that there are ways to make them play really nice together. But I see what you're saying about awaiting the Woo modules update. That's something that I'm hoping comes out really, really soon. That you'll be able to play with and see that will hopefully fix what you're needing. But in terms of Divi moving to Bootstrap, no. I don't think that'll happen. And just for, with that in mind, I like Bootstrap. I also suggest looking at something like Foundation. Not even moving away from Divi, but looking at Foundation as a design templating thing as well. Can't think of the word framework. but that one is also one that I've had a lot of luck with is Foundation, and they've got a new version just out or just coming out, so it's good. So give me one moment. Sorry, I got a direct message. I'll have to fix that in a few. Lost my train of thought on that. So moving forward beyond that, sorry, had to do that. That was the boss messaging. So I needed to answer. I see people talking about in the YouTube chat that the California Consumer Privacy Act is apparently it's going to be, that's what it is, the CCPA. So I was wrong about the acronym. And then Shoaib, again, really sorry, ask, is the Divi theme gonna can also be used to make a multi-vendor online store? Like Uncle Social asked, is it like creating a third-party sellers for selling things? Yeah, there is it is possible, and they've given good, options about how to do that within the chat of WCFM Marketplace, which is a WooCommerce multi-vendor marketplace, and then Divi should work wonderfully with that, especially once we get the new WooCommerce update out. So that'll be good. Blake asked about Bootstrap and things on Facebook here. Awesome. My main concern is that with the code bloat with third-party plugins needs to run a scalable store. I'll check out Foundation. Thanks for the tip. That's one thing I like about Foundation more than I like about Bootstrap is I feel like it's a little cleaner in terms of the code. Whenever I learned about it when I was doing Rails work, and I was using Foundation a lot more and could wrap my head around getting it to play with Rails easier than I could Bootstrap. And so I haven't played a lot with Bootstrap with WordPress, but in my experience, Foundation has a little less of that bloat that you have to deal with. And one thing that we've done as a product is that over the last few updates, we've done our best to consolidate some of that code bloat people were talking about. That we've sped up the builder and experiences for people and page load speeds. So hopefully, using that won't be a terrible hindrance for you if you're using both of them. I see. Let's see, make sure that is good. All right, cool. So one of the articles that we also published, I'm just going to briefly touch on it because I think that you all could really get use out of this one, is how to create a media kit. Like what is a media kit and how to create one. Media kits are really important for people coming and looking at your brand. So whatever your brand is, give people free stuff to be able to promote you. That's basically what it is. There are things like blurbs and images and logos that you put out there for free for people to use so that they can promote your brand when they need to. Journalists and bloggers and clients even. They're like, hey, this website was designed by Divi. And they want to give you that kind of support. So media kits are great. Think about that, getting out blurbs, contacts, testimonials, that kind of thing in them. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on that in particular, but it will. But it is absolutely something worth checking out. Then Securi has an article of something that we've talked about before that I just wanted to point out again for anyone who's new here and hasn't had this discussion on how to create a website maintenance plan and contract, where they talk about things that people might forget to charge for. And that's something that I thought was really cool about this article, more so than some of the others I've read about this, is that they talk about things that you could potentially charge for that are almost like phantom charges that you may not think about being worked into your overall bottom line. Like expediting a job to meet a tight deadline. I mean, you may be working extra hours, that kind of thing. That kind of thing is definitely worth upcharging for. They talk about charging to maintain a custom software subscription, that kind of thing. Your maintenance and time to do that. Media storage. If you're having to do any with high res and video, that can take up a lot of storage. And if you just have a flat storage fee, then maybe you look at what what exactly you're offering to your clients. Markup for sales rep commissions. They talk about banking fees. Didn't even think about banking fees. That there are a lot of this stuff that if you have for businesses, that numbers of transactions impacts how many fees you're paying. So that kind of thing might need to be worked in, and you'll see an increase in your bottom line, as well as like travel fees. Sometimes you're having to do it, and you can at least get like write-offs for it on your taxes and that kind of thing. So make sure that you're taking advantage of that stuff. They talk about how much you should charge in terms of your time versus your client's time. What kind of stuff is just required to do this. They talk about having the confidence to charge for this, and this is something we've talked about on this show before, is that it does take a bit of confidence to tell people, yes, I will continue to work for you or with you, but it's going to cost you $75 a month for me to do this, or whatever. And that is normal, and I think it's something that we all have to work on. You do this for a living, and they're your clients, they're paying you, and once the job is done, there has to be something paid for. So it's not a big deal to ask for payment for doing that, even though sometimes it may feel like it. And then they talk about the size of that business, the extras that you add on, that kind of thing. But it's just a good breakdown. I love Security's blog anyway, and so they broke it down really, really well on this in this particular post. Now, the one directly under that is from CSS Tricks, and it's called The Making of an Animated Favicon. And I'm a sucker for animated favicons. Not many places use them. It is very rare that I actually see an animated favicon, but a little mystery there with my pause for you. But it adds just enough of a touch to make people remember your site. Remember that they're there. Remember they have your site open in another tab. They say, and that's what they say here in CSS Tricks, is that favicons are actually their most useful when they're not on an active tab. That they're the ones reminding them where they are and how to easily get back there. Now, they show you the code that you're going to need to use to put this in. They've got the JavaScript on there to be able to do it. If I remember correctly, not all browsers support this yet, but they do. But some of them do. I know Chrome does, and I believe Firefox does at this point. But it's sorry, but it's something that I personally think is really cool, which Uncle Social disagrees with, because what I was laughing about is Uncle Social wrote, I'm going to submit an article for the Elegant Themes blog called 8,000 Reasons Not to Use an Animated Favicon, and I need to know these. I'm actually curious on how you guys feel about these anyway, and I'm curious on Uncle Social because he is very, very, very adamant against them. So I just got to know what they're doing, and what they're doing to him, I guess, why he hates them so very badly. Velocitize also has an article directly under that, under the tutorial section, called 3 Ways to Market Your Business with Snapchat. And I am too old to really understand Snapchat. I don't get how it's used, but I know it's great for marketing. This was published last week, and it's the same kind of thing that I talk about all the time, that I want to remind you guys that even in the web design business, even in the web development business, using social media well and using stories well is so, so important. This came up at Podcast Movement last week, that everybody was talking about stories. We discussed it this week in our content team meeting. Raquel specifically is just amazing at utilizing stories, and it's just, I don't get it. Like, I want to get it. And so these stories let you create experiences for your people. The people that are viewing it aren't looking at curated content. They're looking at something that you're providing for them, and that kind of closeness and ephemeralness is really, really appealing to a lot of people. They get clicks and they get brand awareness, and people will see them because they show up at the top of their feeds. This is the important thing for you guys to know and to remember, that if you're planning on doing anything with social media marketing, stories are important right now because they are automatically put at the top of your feed without any filtering. They don't, right now, none of the platforms, as far as I know, have any form of filtering on their stories, except for live video, which also shows up first. So if you are thinking about it, getting into it, that's why you should probably look at it now. They talk about using geo-filters for in-store incentives. You can set up geo-fences around your business to get people in, and using your overlays to promote your stuff, and then they can get discounts with it. It's really super cool. And then they talk about how they have an insights tool on there to check your reactions and different kinds of analytics. And now going back to the animated favicon, Uncle Social says that they're up there with auto-playing videos and auto-playing music. How dare you intrude upon my browser tabs with animated tomfoolery? And I do see that. I do see it. I do like them, though. I can't help it. I'm like, oh, you took a little bit of extra time to make my day special. And yes, that is actually how I think about it. It's like, oh, they did that. And because I am effectively a 4-year-old child and get really distracted by shiny things. Now, the last one under tutorials I really want to talk about is a Yoast article, of course, because this one's called "How to Become a Better Writer." And this is something that it's like one of the most searched for terms on the internet. Like, you look and it's got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of different articles about it and searches, and they constantly come up. But the thing about Yoast is that it tells you what your readability is, and as you're using that, that's making you a better writer. But there are also things that you actually have to know how to be a better writer. Having been an English teacher for a while, I want to show you guys, I want to tell you guys the one thing that that I told my students over anything else over when I was teaching freshman composition, is that it doesn't matter if you think you sound like a writer. It's that you're getting your point across. It's that if you are communicating your point and they understand you, then you're succeeding at what you're doing. And there are better ways to do that, yes, than others. But that was one of the things about this article and about the Yoast plugin in general, is that it's helping you make sure that you get your point across. And that's the most important thing about content creation. They talk about structure being important, writing short sentences, because a lot of people don't want to parse everything on the screen, especially if they're on their mobile device. You add examples, you have little stories and asides and things like that that then kind of integrate into that structure that it was talking about. And honestly, you need to write a conclusion. This is something that so many people don't understand how to do well. And I may not be good at it now. But I'm trying, because when you conclude, it's not just writing your introduction backwards like so many people were taught in middle school, like I was taught in middle school. What you actually need to do is hit the high points of that article and provide any important links and information that your readers cannot do without, so that if they skim the middle of your article and just go to the end, they're not missing anything. Your conclusion is really the TLDR part of your article, and that's something that Yoast is talking about here. If you use an example in your introduction, use the same example, but making it slightly different in the conclusion, so that everything is tied together and they don't miss anything. That's super important. How Hi, Raquel. I see your wave. I see Ryan on YouTube ask, have you already mentioned what the next Divi feature update will be? I have not, Ryan, because I don't know what it is. If I had to guess, I would say WooCommerce, but that is a shot in the dark at this point. I'm not actually sure what it's going to be. We'll see if that happens, what the next one will be. I haven't heard since the responsive content was released. Had to think about what last week's was. But no, I don't know what that is. I wish I did. When I do, I'll let you know if it doesn't come out before if it doesn't come out before I know. So it's always fun to get the emails the same as you guys. My favorite thing that's ever happened on this stream is that I was apologizing for a feature not being out yet. You know, we were planning on getting it out soon. I haven't seen it, but I don't know when they'll be out, but it's going to be out really soon. And then somebody in the comments just said, oh, the email just came out. It's out right now. And like as I streamed, they had pushed the email out and pushed the update live. And so I was like, well, now you have it. It is out right now. You're welcome, everybody. Where that has happened before. Here, I'm not sure if that will happen with the WooCommerce ones or another update, but that was my favorite update thing that's ever happened on this show. But yeah, I don't know what the next one will be or when it will be. But we're working on getting them out smoothly and soon is what I was gonna say soonly, and that's not a word. So moving into the last section, I've only got a few minutes left. The resources start out with something that, again, this is hard to tell your clients no. 4 times, it's okay to tell your clients no. And I kind of disagree with just the idea that there have to be certain times that you can tell your clients no. I am a firm believer that if you are a freelancer and that you are working with a client, that you do not work for that client, and that it's okay to tell them no or fire a client if they become a burden. That it is your prerogative for who you work with. But the idea of the article obviously is in the right place. I just think that it's okay anytime that you feel the need to. But the reasons they give are fulfilling your client's request would harm you in some way. They talk about burnout a lot, that if your client just has a crazy deadline, or if they just keep wanting these changes and that is burning you out and hurting your health or mental health or anything like that, or your family life or your employees, anything, it's okay to say no. When your client what your client wants is in a clear violation of their contract, that one is important. I don't even know what I was trying to say, like of the utmost importance. Make sure that you get a contract. Don't work for somebody without a contract. Don't work with somebody without a contract. You need to at least have something written down, the basics of what it is that you're doing and what it is that they want, so that you're on the same page. And that way you can tell them, no, that wasn't what I signed up to do. That's going to be another $4,000. So you're not doing $4,000 worth of work for free. Your client wants something that will negatively impact their own project. Here's something, this is the big one. This is the big one. They want something bad. Everybody out there has dealt with this, where no matter what it is that they want, it's bad. It's not that you can't do it. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just that it's a bad idea to do. And you try to talk them out of it, and they will not budge. And this is when you have to make the decision. Do you tell them no? Do you? I don't know. Sometimes you can, sometimes you don't. It could be, the way they say, this could be as small as a terrible color scheme, or a more problematic request, such as a poor layout or navigational design. If you know that people are doing something that will hurt their client base, it's okay to tell them no and say, no, that doesn't work. Or if they're wanting you to keyword stuff or something like that. And then they also say the request that your client is making goes against your personal ethics, like spammy behavior, hidden links, invisible text, things like that. You know, I don't know if you guys remember, some of you probably do, I know some of you do, that you would have a website in the late 90s or early 2000s, and the website, like the entire website was this long, right? And the content ended right here, but the rest of it had invisible keywords the rest of the way down that were basically only readable to people who either highlighted it or knew that it was there. It's like it just looked like blank space otherwise. That's bad. Like, that is straight up bad, and it's penalized now, and it wasn't before, honestly, before Google. That's how search engines worked. So it was something like that kind of thing. If they want that, you may just tell them no. And it's okay if they want you to include copyrighted images. That is hundreds of thousands of dollars that you can be fined. Tell them no. If they're not wanting to not comply with FCC regulations in terms of disclosing sponsor relationships, they have to. So I see Uncle Social says, yes, you tell them no, they're paying for your expertise. Just be firm, and it's for their own good, and the good of your reputation and portfolio, which is also true. I hadn't even considered that it's good for your reputation and portfolio, that having that on yours is really is a black mark on you. Then the last couple I want to just kind of point out, I guess I only have like 3 minutes left, so I really want to point out these so that y'all will go and open the description of this video and click on these links yourselves, where, excuse me, the Game Impress plugin I've been enamored with lately. It is a really cool free plugin that lets you give your users badges, levels, lets them accrue points for a discount, that kind of thing, for performing certain actions on your website. So I think it's really, really cool. I went to a gamification session on at Podcast Movement by the lady who develops the Digital Access Pass plugin for WordPress. It's really cool. Like, they all tie together like this, and just the idea of gamification for your WordPress websites is really cool. And this is the first time I'd run across this particular plugin, and it is robust and awesome. And I'm playing with it, and did a write-up about it. I think you guys will like it as well. Velocitize also has an article on how to make your next podcast the best one yet. It's got practical advice, like making sure how close you are to your microphone, that, you know, things like you have a pop filter, very, very, very important, that kind of thing. Then Securi has another great one that they published called What Hackers Do After Gaining Access to a Website. That is what you need to know. I mean, a lot of people think that hackers get on there, insert just tons of malicious code in the dark, and it's not stuff like that. It's talking about how they put in the SEO spam, the comment spam, what they do for the fake login boxes, how they put in the pop-ups, things like that. So absolutely read that. It's super interesting. And then finally, Smashing Magazine did a really long and in-depth post on the upcoming WordPress Renaissance, and everyone who was watching this, everybody needs to go read that, because it is a really, really good look at what the WordPress ecosystem looks like right now, and why we as a platform are poised to really be able to jumpstart what we do over the next year or so, because it's, with everything that's come together with the new editor experience, the REST API, among other things, like tons of other things, WordPress is at its point now where it is at its most robust, and maybe its easiest and most accessible that it's ever been for both developers and for users. So I think there is a lot there that you can glean from reading that, and it's really cool. So That's my time, everybody. Thank you for coming out on this Friday afternoon. We do this every Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, so make sure that you ring the bell on YouTube so that you get notified when we go live, if they decide to actually notify you, because just subscribing or liking our page on Facebook doesn't. You have to go in and tell Facebook that you want to be notified when we go live as well. So just make sure that you do that. Please tune in at 3 p.m. Every Friday. We also do a live stream on Tuesday afternoons with Jason Ordoneta doing a use case of using Divi in a real-world scenario where you'll be able to take that and learn how to do it. I will say I learned more about Divi watching those than I ever could pretty much anywhere else. And I will... And then whenever we have an update, a feature update, we will always do a Mac stream on the channels on 6 a.m. Eastern time, so that you'll be able to ask questions live as it goes out. That should be on Facebook and YouTube right now. You can go back and watch this week's after I go off of here. I see Donald asks if the WooCommerce update is next. I don't know 100%, Donald. I'm not sure on that. It was the last time I saw it, but that's not saying a whole lot. That was the next one that I know about, so there may be something else in there. So crossing our fingers, right? All right, everybody. I appreciate you coming out. I hope you have a fantastic week and weekend. Make sure to click all the links in the description and give all of those content creators some love so that we can keep doing this. Bye, everybody.